Firstly, thanks so much for joining me here in this very special and important day. This is the start of something very big. To set the scene, though, I would like to engage you in an experiment. So, being at the Culture Institute, of course, we are forever doing people experiments, and this is an experiment on you. So, with the person sitting next to you, that may or may not be a friend of yours, you may know them, you may not, and I can see you don't want to do this already, but you're doing it. I want you to turn to them and share what people assume about you. You've got about a minute. What people assume about you. For instance, let me just give you an example. So, obviously, when people say to me, you look a lot like Matthew McConaughey, I assume they're talking about this. But in reality, it might be that. Let's not speak of this again. You've got 1 minute, go. So, that question about assumptions, that's obviously important for us in culture, because if you think about the godfather of culture, being Edgar Schein, who said that tacit assumptions are essentially what dictates culture. So us as cultural leaders, our behaviours, the symbols and the signals that we send shape those assumptions, those expectations, and we need to be very clear about what they are. According to the research, we make 10,000 assumptions a day. I suspect it's a lot more than that in terms of our judgments, and we are very rarely correct. So as we know with culture, very difficult. The statistics will say 70 to 80% of culture initiatives fail. We've got to keep trying. Why do they fail? ChatGPT tells me that they fail because of lack of leadership commitment. I would argue quite strongly that it's also a variety of other things. Commitment is probably led to by leadership education, by prioritisation, incentives, a variety of other things that really speak to that lack of commitment. So at the Culture Institute, we've done three things. One is this. So we're doing more of this, bringing people together to share, to start elevating the importance of culture. It's the most important thing in any company, and yet it still gets disregarded to some extent. The other thing we're doing is you can download the Australian Workplace Guidelines from our website, free, and under your chair right now, have a little feel under your chair. Five of you will pull out a golden ticket. 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that your own? Did you bring that from home? At CultureCon, I will be doing a forecast, a prediction of what's going to happen in culture for the next 12 months, always. So this is my guess. This is my stab. And my predictions for this year in terms of culture, we're going to continue seeing culture volatility. Every conversation that I have with a CEO or an executive team is about how do I bring people back to the office, instead of why should they come? And so those conversations will continue. There'll be lost productivity, I'd recommend this year. I'd expect there'll be a loss of productivity because people are still trying to work out how they do it. Some of the ratios or their productivity and their work that they could deliver at home isn't possible now if they're moving into the office. Anyway, a couple of things are happening here. There's lots of myths that are fueling this particular challenge. One is goal contagion. Know what that is? I didn't either. Goal contagion is essentially leaders suggesting that you can't get on board with a strategy or an objective unless you're there in person. It won't be contagious for you to get on board. I say, not true. Institutional knowledge transfer, the same. There's no evidence to suggest we have to be in person. So in the higher education sector, we're facing right into this at the moment. How well are people studying at home? Just as well. Water cooler social transmission, arguments that we need to be together to cultivate culture. I do agree with that. There's anchor days that are definitely required, but not for the reasons that are stipulated here. Second prediction, AI-led bifurcation. So right now, this is extremely exciting. You've seen everyone, Bill Gates, everyone else saying we now have entered the digital age. Before this, we weren't there. We're in the digital age right now. This is our culture wheel. So our diagnostic tool called Panorama, we built this off the back of another diagnostic called Raya, called Lantern. We put with Raya. It made sense of the type of culture that existed inside an organisation in a way that had never been done before. So we can help organisations identify the culture they have today, and then how to shift it. Not just their target culture, but how to actually shift that. In this example, without me going through all of this, the traditional organisations, the conservative organisations or protective organisations, and we all know them, that have a style of risk aversion or process focused or authoritarian command and control are not going to be able to move quick enough to keep up to perform.